In this video, we're going to be learning about slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form looks like this. We want y on one side by itself, and then we're going to put everybody else on this other side. The number or the coefficient in front of your x is your slope, and this number will always be your y-intercept. For example 1, we're asked to write an equation for the line. And this isn't too bad if you remember slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. We need to find m and b and put them in the equation. Well, remember b is the y-intercept. So where does our line go through the y-axis? Well, that's right here at -1. So we know that b is equal to -1. Next, we need to find m, or the slope. Remember, that is the steepness of our line. So we're going to try and figure out how we get from this point to this point using rise over run. So let's calculate that. To get from this point, we got to go all the way up to that point, which means we have gone up 4, so positive 4. And then we have to go over, to get to this point, we have to go over 3 in a positive direction. So our slope would be rise 4, run 3. Once you know your m and your b, we rewrite our slope-intercept form with the value 4/3 in the m spot and -1 in the b spot, and this is the equation for that line. In example 2, they've given us the equation for the line, and we're asked to graph it. So first up, we need to pull out our m and our b. Remember, slope, or m, is always right here in front of that x. So our slope is equal to -4. The y-intercept is out here. That's our b value, or the y-intercept, which in our case is going to be 3. Now, we typically would name that as a point. So the y-intercept here is going to be 0, 3. When you go to graph the line, we are always going to start on b. Always start on b. In our case, it's 3 for our y-intercept. Then we start with that dot. We do not go back to the origin. We start at that dot and use our slope from that spot. Now let's talk about our slope. Here it's -4. So here's our slope, but we really need rise over run, so we really need it as a fraction. So if somebody asks you, what's the slope of the line? Your answer is -4. But functionally, it helps us to write it as -4 over 1 so that we can see the rise and the run. So we need to rise -4. So think about what that would be. That would be going down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and run a positive 1. So that would be here. And that gets me to this spot, which I know is on my line. And I can continue that. I could go down 4 more, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. And this spot is also on the line. Now our slope here of -4 over 1, typically again, we would just say -4. We could also write it like this. Now we don't usually do that because putting negative signs on the bottoms freaks people out. We're not supposed to do that, but we can effectively do it to get some more points on our line. Think about what that one would look like. Let's go back to our b, where our starting point is. If I rise a positive 4, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then run a -1. That would be over there. Look at that. that point is also on our line. Once we have a few points, we're just connecting our dots to make our line. Remember, those arrows are important because those are not the only points on the line. This line goes forever using that slope of -4. Let's try one more of those. We're asked to name the slope and the y-intercept and then graph our line. The problem is, when I look at this equation, it is not in slope-intercept form. Remember, in order to make this happen the way we've been doing it, we need it in y equals mx plus b form. So the first thing we're going to do is rearrange some things. I want the y by itself, so I'm going to move this 2x over to the other side. So I would have 4y equals, now over here, these guys are not like terms, but we could rewrite it as -2x minus 4. And to get y by itself, we need to divide by 4. Now, when you divide over here by 4, you have to divide everything by 4. So first up, I'm going to have to do -2 divided by 4, which is really just -2/4, and that reduces to -1/2. I also have to take the -4 and divide by 4, and that's going to be -1. Now we are in y equal mx plus b, or what we call slope-intercept form, and we can pull the information that we need. First, I can pull my m, and we can also pull b. M is always the thing in front of your x. So for ours, the coefficient in front of x is -1/2. B is always that constant in the back, so it's -1. So the slope of our line is equal to -1/2, and the y-intercept for our line would be 0, -1. Once we have those two pieces, we can graph this. We always start on the y-intercept, always starting on b. So that is right here. Then we are going to use slope to move from that point. Now think about our slope here. Our slope is -1 over 2, rise of -1 and run 2. So if we rise -1, we'd be going down 1, and then go over a +2, and that is a point on our line. Next, we're going to do it again. We're going to go down 1 and over 2, and that is a point on our line. You could continue to do this forever. We're going to run out of room at some point, but we're just going down 1 and over 2. To get the other half of the line, you need to think about a different way that you could write -1/2. Although we typically don't do it, it's the same as that. So we could go up 1 from our B, go up 1, rise 1, and then go over -2. And you could continue doing that. So you could go up 1 over -2. All of those points make up the line for this equation. And again, it goes forever. We didn't stop because it stops. We stopped because we're going to run out of room. The slope of -1/2 will continue to get more points that are on that line. One quick check at the end to make sure you haven't made a mistake with your slope is to look at whether your slope is positive or negative. If you have a negative slope like we do here, your line should be going down right. The way you remember this is, unfortunately, sometimes in this world, people are downright negative. And so you can remember, if your line is going down and to the right, you had a negative slope. So before you say you're done with a problem, look real quick. If it's a negative slope, your line should be going downright negative. If it's a positive slope, your line would be going this direction, up and to the right.